And we're back with a quick channel update. Been meaning to get around to one of these for a while. Have a couple of questions for people. Uh, just to have a quick recap, I think things have been going pretty good on the Oxygen Not Included front. Though it might be a while before I go back to Oxygen Not Included. That last one, that took a few thousand cycles to get that one finished. And before I go back to RimWorld, I'd like to get maybe in a little RimWorld-esque game going on. I've picked out 4 games that I'm going to put up a poll on. And the first one up is Going Medieval. Now, this game is kind of similar to RimWorld in a lot of ways, but it's just, more graphical. Also, it has fire, it seems, and more archery. And I don't think it's quite as in-depth in terms of how the colonists work out, but it does look interesting, and it does have good reviews. So I was quite... Oh my god, are those animals on fire? And they're spreading the fire around? Okay, very good. Strong contender. Very strong contender. Next up, we have Space Haven. Now, this one is more of a spaceship simulator. Earth is destroyed or something, and you have to build a spaceship and survive. So you're going to need oxygen and food, and you're going to need to scavenge for stuff and build, facilities and keep people warm and oxygenated and not dead and probably entertained and give them guns. And yes, and losing people is going to be bad. Seems very... sort of one of those high risk, high reward, whereas if you take risks with your colonists and lose them, it's really bad for you because you have very small, very condensed crews. So I'd be interested to see how that would play out long term. Also, you appear to have to get guns and ships and go and investigate hulks, which can have aliens on them and probably bad guys and humans with guns as well. So it seems incredibly dangerous. Next up, we have Kingdoms Reborn. Again, looking pretty similar to the RimWorld-esque ones, but it seems to be more of a city builder, as in you build bigger and bigger and bigger. And actually, let's skip forward a bit. Yeah. Like that kind of scale of building. So it's not quite the same small claustrophobia you get in RimWorld. It's more you will be building up quite large and maybe expanding. Also, that does look pretty cool. I am not sure where the threats come from, if you get raided or if there's fights. Yeah, from what I can see here, there doesn't seem to be any outside sources or stressors. So it's just whether or not you live or die, depending on the biome. And last up, we've got Surviving Mars. So this is all about building a colony on Mars and surviving there. Also not sure about the outside stressors on this now that I think about it, but I presume it's the lack of oxygen and, living on a planet. Oh, I think there's meteor showers and stuff like that. There's some minor stressors that will try and kill you, but I don't think you're going to be facing raiders or aliens trying to come in with rocket launchers. You can't have everything. But this seems more like a base builder instead of a colony sim. Curious to see how this one plays out. This, I think, is the oldest of the 4. And the reason we're going with 4 is because YouTube only allows you to put up 4 things on a poll. So, yeah, that's why we're stuck with 4 options, it seems. I'll be putting up a poll on the YouTube channel shortly after this video goes up, just so that people can get in their votes. Now, this is just going to be a short-term series to tide us over. Sorry, I should have been doing 2 series simultaneously as it was, but it was just, I wasn't feeling the Mae West, and it was, I ended up just starting X4, and I didn't have the bandwidth to do anything else. It's, We went on New Year's. We normally go and visit some friends who have a bunch of kids, and yeah, they're good crack, good to hang around with. And for their end, they get to hang around with some adults and have adult conversations. They've got 5 kids. It's mental. But yeah, it also means they're germ factories. So generally, every time I go down there, I usually catch something. But this time, whatever it was, got sick. Then I think it was it lasted about 2 weeks, got better, and then the next day I got sick again or something. Madness. Anyway, this thing dragged on for ages. I eventually had to go to a doctor, and they're like, yeah, there's a thing in your chest. I just thought I was feeling just a little bit down or something. I was like, no, there was something, I had a chest infection or something. So they give me a bunch of antibiotics, and those things, yep, they're pretty good. It's 4 or 5 days later, you're feeling way better. But normally when you get sick, you ignore it, and after a while, it goes away. That's how it's always worked. Is this getting older thing where you get older and it's I'm sorry, now you just don't get better the way you used to? You're going to have to start taking antibiotics now? A doctor's never prescribed me antibiotics before. Well, okay. Did have my appendix out when I was a kid, so maybe they gave me antibiotics then. But barring that, never needed any of that stuff. Weird. I don't like this. Things should stay the same. You just ignore your sicknesses until they're going away. You just work through them. That's how I was raised. As a review, I would like to say chest infections, no. Just don't do them. Skip them. Maybe wait for the movie or something. It's just they're not worthwhile. I've basically spent almost 10% of this year being sick, and we're only 10% into the year. This has not been a fun year so far, and you know what? Never mind. It's fine. Right now, we're in the middle of the X4 series, and I know it's not X4 is not hugely popular, namely because it just sort of becomes Well, a game of becoming space oligarch is the best description I've heard so far. It I think it starts out as a dogfighter in ships, but then eventually you just make so much money you just start throwing waves and waves of ships at problems, and then it stops being a problem. It more starts being, what do I do with all of this ridiculous amounts of cash I've gotten? So the plan is to add one of the four games listed to the mix and play that while I put up a more in-depth poll. The problem is trying to find new games to add into the mix are a bit tricky. Like Manor Lords was probably the highest ranked game I'd say that sort of fit into the niche that Chattel sort of has. And Manor Lords wasn't really that popular either, but it's actually pretty fun figuring that game out. But once I think it's still a little bit too new because after playing it for a while, I was like, wait, this just works, and this is the easiest way to build stuff, and this is just yeah, that game is solved, and it was just like, well, okay, in that case, I'm just going to move on. So finding new, fresh games in the genre, little bit tricky. Still have access to the trusty spreadsheet that's got a list of all the games sort of ranked by the weird ranking system. Unfortunately, I've sort of realized this is a little bit out of date by about a year or so, so I'm going to have to figure out a way to get that updated. Yeah, I should probably send some emails about that. I'm going to have to figure out how to do this myself so I don't have to ask for help with this next time. You know what they say, teach a man to fish and all that. If you got any game suggestions, now's the time. Just check them in the comments and I'll try and make up a list. Don't do be worried, it's just there's a couple of criteria. One is like, it can't be like a terrible game. Preferably it's something that's got at least decent reviews or like a good community like behind it that's like, yeah, this is a fun game. Like Star Sector is one of those ones where you never know it was a great game, but you see the community and you're like, okay, there's like something there behind it. And also, it can't be a game that's basically been done to death already. Like I do get suggestions to play Factorio. It's just I'm not sure what I could add to that. Like that game's been out for like 5-6 years now, and people have done some crazy stuff in that. Like one thing I always wanted to do was go to the edge of the map. The map's actually finite because it's randomly generated, but something to do with the integer size or whatever size they use. You can only go so far, and eventually you actually run out of map. Someone actually did that though. They went all the way to the edge of the map and then just teleport there. They built like a whole railway connection out there, and like they had to fight their way through all the biters and stuff. And it's like all the crazy stuff. There's some crazy stuff that's been done out there, so you can request me to play those games. But like 99% positive, even if I did play those, no one would really want to watch them because well, I'm gonna suck. I'm not gonna be anywhere near as good as those people who've got 5 years in it. So it needs to be a good blend of like good enough game, but not so good that the crazy people have done all the crazy stuff first. I want to get a chance to do some of the crazy stuff. So next up, it will be the winner of the poll, I suppose. One of those four games is going to win. I'm curious to see which one comes out on top. And I still have to finish the Space Oligarchy of X4. I mean, Space Oligarch got a Space Oligarch. Look, plus that game is like, it's like comfort food playing that game. It's easy, it's low stress. Once you figure out what you're doing, it's just a case of getting there. The problem is the getting there takes a little bit of time. Anyway, I'm going to cut this out here. I need to probably get outside the house a little bit more. I haven't been really getting out that much recently because wasn't feeling the best, and I think I need to do like some exercise, like get a cycle in or two, because I've been really low energy for a while. I'm looking forward to being back to normal ish. Anyway, I'm going to cut this out here. I hope you enjoyed it. Good luck.